Hello YouTube. Half a year ago I started a new account and showed it's possible for a free-to-play player to beat Honkai Star Rail Endgame in just 1 month. Since then we got a new world to explore, a new archetype for the main character, and a lot of HP inflation in the endgame. It's time to start a new account again for another speedrun, and see if we can still beat the game in 1 month, or if the HP inflation is suffocating the new player experience.
The sleeper has awakened!
This account was started on February 10th in the Aglaya half of 3.0. On the starter banner we get wealth, and finishing the campaign we get enough warps to reach the standard banner pity and pull another wealth. On the limited banner we lose our first 50-50 to Bailu and then pick up Aglaya. We lose our next 50-50 again to Bailu, what the hell is going on with this account, and then pick up a copy of Dance 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 before picking up our Robin. In week 2, we win our 50-50 for Tribi and use our selector on Bronya. We hit Trailblaze 60 and cash out the fuel we get from leveling to farm up critical and speeds armor sets that we'll use for our teams. For planar sets, we use our Herda tokens in the event to farm up planar sets for Medei and our supports, and use the new relic crafting system for Aglaya's planar set. We spend the rest of the month farming trace materials while we wait for Medei. We lose the 50-50 to Japard and then pick up Medei. Aglaya needs some help with her energy, so we win the 50-50 to Huahua.
And this
What's he doing?
is to go even further beyond!
We still have some Stellar Jade left, so we keep pulling on the Medei banner. We pick up a second Dance 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 and lose our 50-50 to Bronya, bringing her to E1, and then we pick up our E1 Medei. Let's get into the endgame, starting with MOC 12. Everything up to the final stage is easy, so we'll just skip directly there. Memory of Chaos has gotten harder overall because the HP inflation has made it difficult for a new account to zero cycle the first stage, but it's probably still the easiest mode overall. That said, my Medei struggles here. On the first stage he is not able to break the soldiers to get the extra damage from their merit points, and on the second stage his attacks being random means that it takes longer for him to debuff True Sting with the mini stings than it should, which slows everything down. He's also fairly investment dependent. The most powerful thing Medei can do is to use his extra lives to run a sustainless team, but this brand new Medei doesn't have the damage to do that yet. It also doesn't help that the only free-to-play light cone available to him is garbage. I don't know why they didn't add the Rappa event light cone into the Herda store. Anyway, it takes Medei way longer to clear this side than I would like. Fortunately, Aglaya is able to clean up on her side. Aglaya was criticized on release for being free-to-play unfriendly because she needs help keeping her enhanced state turned on, but Robin and Sunday are both tier 0 characters that you're likely to pull for anyway, so even if you decide to not vertically invest in Aglaya, those supports are still optimal for other teams, and as a new player you have plenty of Stellar Jade to invest in her team. On the first stage, make sure to break the war armor with Aglaya so that she gets the energy regen, and on the second stage focus on killing the spears as they do more damage to the boss than actually hitting him directly. If you get Aglaya's ultimate early, it helps to hold onto it until the last second. This allows Huahua, Robin, and the Energy Turbulence time to catch up, and ensure that we can keep chaining her ultimates without her powering down. Aglaya finishes up just in time, giving us full stars in MOC. Next up is Apocalyptic Shadow 4. Just focus on the dice and break Aventurine after that. One thing to note is that it is possible to break Aventurine before beating him in the dice game, but you only get the bonus energy from beating him in the dice game. You don't want to end up in a situation where Aglaya has to power down and reboot in the middle of his break phase, losing a lot of damage. So it is worthwhile delaying breaking him until you have enough points on the dice to make sure you win the game and get that energy. But Aglaya, in my opinion, is one of the more fun characters to play in Star Rail because you have to constantly be thinking about how you're going to chain her energy in such a way that she doesn't have to reboot, and getting her ult back just a second before the previous one expires always feels good. On Miday's side, he does much better than he did in MOC now that he has 5 targets to hit. This fight is one of the reasons I decided to pull for Miday's E1 Eidolon. In general, I think it is a good idea for new players to give their 2 main DPS a Light Cone or an Eidolon. You're already spending 4 characters worth of Stellar Jade to build a team, and a Light Cone is a small investment that can improve that team's performance by 30 to 40% immediately, and protects its longevity when the meta changes and you no longer have beneficial stage modifiers or weaknesses. Miday is a good candidate for a Light Cone because he doesn't have a good free-to-play alternative, and his own Light Cone gives him a big boost, close to 40%. But if you look at the enemies he is going to be facing in the next 4 months, they're all multi-target fights. So he should get more benefit overall from the Eidolon than the Light Cone. On this stage, make sure that Miday gets his triggered attack on the enemy when they are broken. As long as you manage that, getting the full stars is straightforward. 2 modes down, it's time for Pure Fiction 4. Pure Fiction has gotten a rework since the last challenge, with the grid system giving you whimsicality options that are more likely to benefit your team's archetype, and making sure the field always has 5 enemies to hit with your AoE. In this case, the damage is low enough that we can safely drop Blinks on the Miday team and replace her with Herta. Because Herta and Trivia both do follow-ups, this gives us a choice of the follow-up or Berserker whimsicality, and after some testing, the follow-up one actually does better. Overall, this flexibility makes Pure Fiction easier than it used to be. That said, Pure Fiction is still the hardest mode for Blast characters. Even with E1 and Herta for now, this team gets stuck at 25,000 points. Herta actually doesn't work that well with Miday because he blows up the board with his E1, and she ends up spinning on just the elite, which isn't that much value. I would prefer Remembrance MC here, but for now, MC is on the other side. Let's finish up by talking about Remembrance MC. Star Rail players complain about power creep, but they never say thank you to MiHoYo when they give us free tools like Ratio Harmony MC, March 7, and now Remembrance MC to keep up with the power creep. In general, it feels like RMC is a big upgrade over Harmony MC because it doesn't force you into Super Break archetype. It works with the current characters as well as reruns, and can be entirely skill point positive, which enables skill point hungry teams, and is more fluid for new accounts with healers like Lynx or Natasha that can be skill point hungry. Harmony MC could be skill point positive in some cases, but on a new account you generally had to skill once in a while and ended up being just skill point neutral. Playing RMC with energy and turn manipulators like Huohuo and Robin can be a bit tricky, not to waste action advance value, but you can generally control it by holding onto your ult until you know it's safe to use it, even if it wastes some energy on the RMC. RMC is a big reason why Aglaya is able to outperform Miday for me, but unfortunately it's not enough and we fall about 7,000 points short of full stars in Pure Fiction. We have failed to beat all of Honkai's Star Rail Endgame in just 1 month.
I am no warrior, and I will never fight again.
I'm being dramatic, of course. We have 5 weeks to improve our traces and relics in order to get the final 80 Stellar Jade from this Pure Fiction before it rotates. And even right now, I have probably enough Stellar Jade sitting in Simulated Universe to pull Miday's Light Cone, which probably could push us close to 60,000 points. I'm not going to do that, however, because this is going to be my main account for the next year, and the account that I'll be making content from. So I plan on pulling on Castori's next batch instead, which also should improve our score. Overall, I think Star Rail balance is finally in a good place right now. You can get Stellar Jade from most of the stages just by having a pulse, and in the final stage you need to use the boss mechanics to get the advantages needed for earning full points, at least on a new account. I think that's good design. Obviously, new players have the advantage of the stage mechanics and type advantages benefiting them, and that ends after a couple of months of patches, but you also have that time to upgrade your traces and relics so that you don't need those handicaps anymore. By the way, my next video will be a relic guide for new players, so subscribe and like not to miss that. The biggest problem with balance right now is that most starter banner characters feel kinda useless. But MiHoYo knows that, and I hope their reworks make losing 50/50s feel less bad in the future. Anyway, let's wrap things up. I'll see you in the next one.